Have you ever woken up ready for a good day, only for one single comment to pull the rug out from under you? Maybe it was a harsh text message, a cutting remark online, or a cold glance from someone at work. It's almost shocking how a few careless words can feel like ice water thrown on your soul. Here's the thing, toxic people are everywhere. They show up in offices, in families, on social media feeds, and the truth is, you can't stop them from existing. But here's a question worth asking. Do you really want to hand them the power to dictate your peace? Because real strength isn't found in shutting down every critic or silencing every insult. It's found in learning how to stand calm in the storm, unshaken. And that's exactly what the Stoics mastered and what you're about to discover today. Picture this. It's early morning. The air is still quiet, the light is soft, and your favorite cup of coffee warms your hands. You scroll through your phone, maybe checking your messages or emails, when suddenly a sentence jumps out. A harsh remark, an unkind jab. Without warning, the calm of your morning is gone. Your chest tightens, your mind starts replaying the words, and what should have been a fresh beginning now feels heavy. Sound familiar? We've all been there. And here's the strange part. You could get 10 kind messages, but that one negative one, the cruel comment, the sarcastic remark, that's the one your brain clings to like glue. Why is it that the negative always feels louder than the positive? It's like a stubborn stain on your favorite white shirt. No matter how much you scrub, it refuses to fade. And every time you wear that shirt, you notice it again. Negativity works the same way. It lingers. It sticks to our minds long after it was spoken. But here's a truth the Stoics understood. You have a choice. That stain doesn't have to ruin your shirt or your day. Just because someone throws dirt your way doesn't mean you have to wear it. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, once wrote in his Meditations, "When another person blames you or hates you, or when people voice similar criticisms, go to their souls. Penetrate inside and see what sort of people they are. You will realize that there is no reason to be troubled that they should hold any particular opinion about you." Take a moment and let that sink in. What Marcus is saying is this. When people lash out, it reveals more about them than it does about you. Their anger is their burden. Their bitterness belongs to them. Their words are a reflection of their internal struggles, not a mirror of your worth. So instead of absorbing their poison, step back. Ask yourself, what pain are they carrying that makes them speak this way? What insecurities are they hiding behind their cruelty? When you see beyond the surface, you stop carrying their weight on your shoulders. But there's more. Every moment of negativity is also an invitation, a mirror not just to see others, but to reflect on yourself. Because how you respond reveals more about you than the insult ever could. Let me ask you, how often do you let someone else's mood shape your own? How many times have you allowed a single comment to define your day? Do you ever hand your peace over to people who don't even deserve a place in your thoughts? The truth is, this isn't just about dealing with toxic people. It's about reclaiming your inner strength, about refusing to let someone else's brokenness decide your brightness. And it starts with one thing, self-awareness. Think about it. You've met people who just know how to push your buttons. They say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and suddenly you feel your temper rising. These are the people we often call toxic, because their negativity spreads like smoke. And what does smoke do? It clouds your vision. It makes it hard to breathe, hard to think, hard to see clearly. But here's the secret. When you know you're allergic to smoke, you don't run into the fire. You keep your distance. Self-awareness works the same way. By understanding your triggers, by knowing what sets you off, you give yourself the power to step aside instead of stepping into the trap. You don't need to absorb every blow. You don't need to fight every battle. Sometimes the wisest move is the quiet sidestep. An old fencing master once told his students that the greatest skill in fencing wasn't attacking, it was knowing when to dodge. The art wasn't in striking harder, but in avoiding the strike altogether. That's how you should picture yourself when dealing with toxic people. Each time they lash out, see yourself sidestepping, calm, composed, untouchable. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to know where your boundaries lie. And here's the beauty of it. This doesn't require anger, revenge, or hostility. It requires respect, Respect for yourself, respect for your peace, respect for the fact that your mind, your energy, your spirit are too valuable to be poisoned by someone else's bitterness. So I'll ask you again, what truths about yourself have been buried under the weight of other people's words? What part of you has been dimmed by the shadows of their negativity? From this moment on, make a choice. A choice to guard your inner light. A choice to stop letting toxic people write the story of your day. A choice to stand rooted in who you are even when the storm rages around you. Because yes, there will always be toxic people. That part doesn't change. But the way you respond, that's entirely yours. And when you choose self-awareness, when you choose calm over chaos, when you choose dignity over reaction, you become untouchable. So let's walk this path together. A journey not just of surviving toxic people, but of strengthening your sense of self. Step 1, self-awareness. Step 2, we'll uncover it together in the next chapter. We've just talked about the importance of self-awareness, learning when to sidestep, when to protect your peace, and how not to let toxic words stain your day. Now let's take that understanding one step further and see how it looks in daily life. Responding to negativity doesn't always mean fighting back. In fact, the strongest response is often the quietest one, a calm, unshakable knowledge of who you are. Think of it this way. When you first learned to tie your shoes, it took concentration. You had to look down, follow each step carefully, but over time it became second nature. You don't even think about it anymore. That's exactly how resilience works. At first, choosing not to react feels like effort. It takes practice to pause, to breathe, to ask yourself simple but powerful questions. Why does this bother me? What can I learn from it? These questions aren't about excusing toxic behavior. They're about reinforcing your own mental strength, reminding you that every challenge can become a lesson. Still, let's be honest, this path isn't easy. Self-awareness doesn't mean the negativity around you disappears. Life isn't a fairy tale, and there will be days when reacting feels easier. When someone throws hurtful words your way, the temptation to throw them back can be strong. But what kind of victory is that, really? It's fleeting, hollow, because every time you mirror their hostility, you betray the calm strength you've been building. Each time you choose to respond instead of react, remember, you're not doing it because it's the easier path. You're doing it because it's the right one. You're constructing a fortress within yourself, not built on arrogance, but on a quiet foundation of inner strength and calm. It's not about pretending negativity doesn't exist, but about acknowledging it without letting it dictate your actions. And here's the gift hidden in the challenge. Negativity, when handled with wisdom, sharpens you. It shapes you. It makes you stronger. Every test of patience adds another layer of resilience, preparing you for bigger storms ahead. 2. Forgiveness and memory. Now shift your gaze upward. Imagine the night sky filled with countless stars. Each one shines brightly, piercing through the darkness. Think of these stars as the people who add value to your life. Those who encourage you, guide you, and light your path with understanding and empathy. But the universe isn't made only of stars. There are black holes too. And in your life, these are the toxic individuals, the ones who pull you into their darkness, stripping away your joy, draining your energy, and leaving you feeling empty. Here's the question. How do you navigate this cosmic dance of relationships without being pulled into those black holes? Picture yourself as a spaceship. But this isn't an ordinary ship. It's not powered by fuel tanks or hydrogen. It runs on something far greater, courage and wisdom. And the main engine, the fuel that keeps you moving forward, is forgiveness. Forgiveness is your power source. It frees you from the chains of resentment. It keeps you from being locked to the past, from carrying the heavy burden of grudges that weigh down your spirit. With forgiveness, you rise higher than toxic influences. You're no longer tied to their gravity. Yet even the strongest ship needs guidance. That's where memory comes in. Memory is your navigational system, the map and compass reminding you where the black holes lie. It doesn't mean you hold grudges, it means you remember the lessons. When you encounter a familiar type of negativity, memory whispers, take a different route. Don't repeat the same mistake. Your past encounters with toxicity aren't shackles, they're markers on your star map. Each painful experience becomes a guiding light, showing you where not to go and teaching you how to protect your energy. Think of it like this. Forgiveness releases the weight of anger, while memory ensures you don't wander back into the same destructive orbit. Together, they create the perfect balance. One sets you free, the other keeps you wise. So as you continue your own celestial journey, ask yourself, who in your life shines like a star, guiding you with kindness, and who has proven themselves to be a black hole, demanding that you steer clear? Let forgiveness be the fuel that propels you forward, and let memory serve as the compass that keeps you safe. Because in the vast, complex constellation of human relationships, this combination is what allows you to soar, gracefully, wisely, and without losing yourself in the chaos. In this grand ballet of life, strive to be the spaceship that moves with refined grace, navigating through cosmic disorder with courage as your engine and wisdom as your guide. From forgiveness and memory, we now move to the next foundation, emotional stability. Because if forgiveness fuels your journey and memory guides your path, then stability is what keeps your ship steady through the storms of life. 3. Emotional stability. Navigating life surrounded by toxic individuals can feel like trekking through a thick, endless fog. The path ahead blurs, every step feels uncertain, and doubt creeps in with every breath. You wonder, where am I going? Will I ever break free from this haze? But what if I told you there is a way to clear the fog? The answer doesn't come from the outside. It begins within, through the power of emotional stability. And this stability isn't about shutting down your feelings or pretending not to care. It's about learning, through Stoicism, to stand steady no matter how rough the storm becomes. Think about someone you admire, maybe a mentor, maybe a colleague, maybe even a family member. No matter the chaos swirling around them, they don't get rattled. They don't raise their voice. They don't collapse under the weight of conflict. Instead, they remain calm, grounded, unshaken, like a mountain standing tall while winds and storms rage against its sides. That's emotional stability. Now let's be clear. Stability doesn't mean coldness or indifference. It's not about being numb or detached. Rather, it's the wisdom of knowing that the only thing you truly control is your response. You can't dictate how others act, what they say, or how unfair the world can sometimes feel, but you can decide how you respond. And in that choice lies your greatest strength. This is at the heart of Stoic teaching. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Toxic people thrive on reaction. They want you rattled, they want you pulled into the drama. But when you channel your inner Stoic, you deny them that power. Instead of being swept away by the storm, you step into the eye of the hurricane. Out there, everything is wild, loud, chaotic, but in the center, it's calm. And that calm is where clarity is born. In that space, you can breathe, you can think, you can respond not from emotion, but from reason. This is what emotional stability looks like in action. So how do you build it? One of the simplest yet most powerful tools is mindfulness. Yes, it's a word we hear often these days, but here's why it matters. It works. Mindfulness allows you to pause, to step back, to watch the chaos without being swallowed by it. Imagine sitting by a river. The water rushes past, carrying leaves, branches, even debris. Mindfulness is like sitting on the bank, simply observing what flows by instead of jumping in and being dragged downstream. The negativity, the insults, the toxic energy, those are just the branches and debris. You don't have to chase them, you don't have to wrestle them, you let them pass. Mindfulness teaches us that toxic moments are temporary. They're like clouds drifting across the sky. Some are dark and heavy, but none of them last forever. The sun is still there behind the clouds, waiting to shine again. So the next time negativity surrounds you, remember, you are the architect of your own peace. Build it strong. Build it steady, and refuse to let passing storms tear it down. 4. Setting boundaries. Now let's move to another essential lesson. Boundaries. Think of each day of your life as a canvas. Every interaction you have, every conversation, every exchange is like a brushstroke. Some brushstrokes are vibrant, bright, and full of life, uplifting you, adding beauty to your masterpiece. Others are heavy, dark, and clumsy, marks left by toxic encounters that threaten to distort the entire picture. Toxic interactions don't just leave a passing mark, They can reshape your mood, your self-image, even the way you view the world. And if you let them, those dark brushstrokes will dominate the canvas. The Stoics understood this well. They were masters of their own minds, not because they avoided adversity, but because they built strong inner walls. They knew that not every opinion deserved attention, not every insult was worth a reply, and not every ounce of energy should be given away. So what if I told you that you could deal with toxic people in the same way? That it's not about building an impenetrable wall that locks the world out, but about choosing wisely which gates to open and which to keep shut. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cold or unkind. It makes you a curator of your own peace. Think of yourself as the guardian of a sacred space, your energy. And your energy, like water in a desert, is limited and precious. Every time you engage in an interaction, you're handing someone a cup of that water. Now ask yourself, who truly deserves that water? Who will use it to refresh, to nurture, to help you grow? And who will waste it, leaving you parched and drained? That's the power of boundaries. They allow you to give your energy to those who add value, while refusing to let toxic individuals deplete your reserves. It's not selfish, it's survival, it's wisdom. It's the art of protecting the masterpiece of your life. We just uncovered the power of setting boundaries, learning to guard your energy with wisdom, to protect your inner garden, and to respect yourself enough to say, this is where I draw the line. Now, let's take that awareness even further, into the next crucial principle, energy intelligence. Think of your life as a vast desert. Some people in your world come like gardeners, planting seeds that blossom into beauty, filling your space with color and life. Others arrive like the scorching sun, evaporating the little water you've saved, leaving behind cracked earth and emptiness. Setting boundaries is what allows you to choose wisely. It isn't about arrogance or shutting people out. It's about deciding calmly and firmly where your garden ends and where the wilderness begins. This is why boundaries matter so deeply. They're not acts of aggression. They're acts of wisdom and self-respect. To say, here is where I stop, here is where I protect myself, is to honor your own worth. And when you begin each day with that mindset, every sunrise becomes a fresh chance to add bright strokes to the masterpiece of your life. So don't think of boundaries as cutting people off. Instead, see them as lines of clarity. They don't choke your freedom, they nurture it. They don't limit your relationships, they protect the ones that truly matter. Boundaries are the quiet fences that keep your garden flourishing, and when you put them in place, you'll see the landscape of your life slowly transform into something stronger, healthier, and more beautiful. If this message is resonating with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Give this video a like to help spread the wisdom, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more insights like these. Your support not only helps this channel, it helps build a community where peace and strength are valued above all. 5. Energy intelligence. Now, let's dive deeper into something even more subtle, your energy. Have you ever noticed how simply being around certain people can change the entire atmosphere of your day? One moment you feel calm and steady, and the next it's like you're standing in the middle of a thunderstorm. Their presence is heavy, charged, almost electric, and before you know it, your mood has flipped upside down. Navigating these interactions with toxic people is like sailing choppy waters. Even the calmest sailor can feel seasick when the waves keep crashing. But here's where we turn the lens inward and discover something powerful: energy intelligence. Think of it as your compass, the internal guide that helps you preserve your peace even when negativity surrounds you. Imagine your energy as a protective wall, like the fortified walls of an ancient city. Those walls were built not out of fear, but out of wisdom. They preserved the life within, shielded the people from harm, and kept invaders at bay. In the same way, your energy forms a barrier around your mind and heart. It is what keeps out the toxins, what preserves your joy, what maintains your balance in a world full of storms. And here's the key: you hold the power of choice in every encounter. Just as you decide what kind of fuel to put in your car, fuel that determines its performance, its efficiency, and its longevity, you also decide what kind of energy you allow into your space and how you choose to respond. So when faced with someone whose presence feels draining, you can choose patience, you can choose understanding, Or when necessary, you can choose not to engage at all. That right there is your super fuel. Those decisions optimize your well-being, keeping you steady, grounded, and strong. This doesn't mean you're running away from conflict. Far from it. It means you're arming yourself with wisdom. You're learning to respond in a way that aligns with your peace, instead of being dragged into the storms of others. Harnessing energy intelligence goes beyond mere self-control. It's about creating such a grounded space within you that even the fiercest storm cannot shake your foundation. Picture a tree with roots that dig deep into the earth. The winds blow, the storm rages, yet the tree remains. Not because the wind doesn't blow, but because the tree has mastered the art of bending, swaying, and flexing without breaking. That's the kind of stability energy intelligence gives you. When you embody it, toxic energy can't take root in you. It either dissipates or passes by, unable to destabilize you. So pause and reflect. How have you been managing your energy when faced with toxic people? Think about those moments when someone else's negativity weighed heavy on your heart. Did you let their storm cloud your sky, darkening your day? Or did you shine brighter, standing as a guiding light that pointed both of you back to calm? This journey isn't about becoming completely unaffected. It's not about pretending nothing hurts. Instead, it's about realizing that inside you lies a reservoir of strength, calm, and wisdom that no one can take away. When the storms come, you don't crumble. You breathe. You steady yourself. You remember the power you hold. And moving forward, the challenge is this. How will you channel your energy intelligence? Will you use it simply to protect your own peace? Or will you go one step further, becoming a light for others who are also struggling in the storm? Because the real test of inner strength is not how you avoid the storm, it's how you dance in the rain. We just talked about energy intelligence, the art of guarding your inner strength, staying rooted like a tree in the storm, and learning to dance in the rain instead of being swept away by it. Now let's shift our focus to another key principle, keeping your eyes fixed on your goals. Because one of the most powerful ways to silence toxic voices is to let your actions, not your arguments, do the talking. 6. Focus on goals. Think about a time when you set your heart on something, maybe mastering a new skill, improving your health, hitting a fitness milestone, or advancing a personal project that excites you. In those moments, the path ahead often feels clear. You know what you want, and you can almost see the finish line. But then, out of nowhere, life throws in distractions. Negative voices, skeptical glances, or subtle suggestions that you should aim smaller, safer, or easier. Suddenly, the wind shifts, and it's as if your paper airplane, once flying straight, has been blown off course. That's discouraging, isn't it? Take the story of Jordan, for example. He was passionate about starting a small online business. He poured his time, energy, and creativity into building something of his own. But the skepticism around him was relentless. Friends doubted him openly. Family members gently nudged him toward more secure options. Their words weren't always harsh, but the weight of doubt pressed in all the same. Sound familiar? Many of us have walked in Jordan's shoes. Now here's the lesson. Instead of wasting his energy on endless debates or trying to convince people to believe in his vision, Jordan chose a different path. He stayed focused. He refined his skills. He expanded his knowledge. He kept building his business step by step, quietly, consistently, with determination. And what can we learn from his journey? That success often comes from a steadfast belief in yourself and a refusal to let negativity dictate your path. Because here's the truth. Trying to change people's opinions is a losing battle. The Stoics knew this. They taught us that our energy should stay centered on what we can control and let go of what we can't. You cannot change someone else's doubt. You cannot rewrite their perspective, but you can control your response. You can maintain a mental barrier so strong that skepticism bounces right off, leaving your focus unbroken. Picture it like wearing a raincoat during a storm. The rain doesn't stop, the clouds don't disappear, but you stay dry. That's resilience. That's Stoic focus. So the next time you find yourself facing skepticism or negativity about your dreams, think of Jordan. Don't waste your time convincing detractors. They're not the ones walking your path anyway. Redirect that energy inward. Refine your craft. Take the next step. Smile if you must, nod politely, and then carry on. Because here's the reality. Your goals matter. Your time is precious, and negativity has no right to occupy space in your mind without paying rent. Embrace Stoicism, focus on your actions, enjoy the process, and let the noise of doubt fade into the background like a faint whisper. Remember, this is your journey. You are the navigator of your ship, the pilot of your plane, the author of your story. 7. Seeking support. Still, even the strongest among us sometimes face storms that feel overwhelming. Every once in a while, you meet someone whose presence seems to challenge your peace at every possible turn. You know the type. When they enter a room, it's like a storm cloud rolling across a sunny sky. Their energy weighs heavy, and before long, you feel pulled down as if you were stuck in quicksand. And the harder you struggle to maintain your calm, the deeper you sink into frustration, irritation, or even anger. These are the kinds of dynamics that truly test our patience, and more importantly, our stoicism. But here's the insight we often forget. Asking for support in these moments is not a weakness, it's wisdom. Think about it. How much difference can a single candle make in a pitch-dark room? Just one flame can push back the shadows and reveal paths you didn't see before. In the same way, sharing your struggles with someone you trust can illuminate possibilities you may have overlooked. These people, our trusted friends, mentors, or loved ones, don't fight our battles for us. They don't carry the weight of our challenges on their shoulders. What they do is remind us of our own strength, our own capacity to endure, and the reservoir of wisdom already inside us. Imagine having a wise elder by your side, someone who has walked through storms of their own and carries scars that turned into lessons. Their words, born of experience, can guide you in ways you hadn't considered. That kind of support is invaluable. It's not about leaning on others to save you, but about allowing their perspective to sharpen your resolve. To harness your stoic strength fully, you must also recognize when external perspectives can help you. Stoicism isn't about isolation, it's about clarity. And sometimes, clarity comes from voices outside our own. So don't see reaching out as a sign of failure. See it as one more tool in your arsenal, a strategy for navigating toxicity with grace. Because even the greatest philosophers, the strongest leaders, and the wisest minds knew the value of counsel, companionship, and community. In the last section, we reflected on the power of seeking support, on knowing when to share your struggles, when to reach out, and when to let the wisdom of others help illuminate the path ahead. Because true stoicism isn't about silent suffering, it's about walking through life with clarity, aided by the insights and strength of those who walk beside us. 8. Control of negative self-talk. Now let's turn inward, because while toxic people can disturb our peace from the outside, often the loudest battle takes place within. Think back to the first time you encountered someone whose energy felt like a rain cloud over a joyful parade. You were happy, maybe even celebrating something small, and then, suddenly, their negativity rolled in like thunder, dimming the brightness of your day. We've all felt it, that heavy pull of someone else's mood weighing us down. But here's the surprising truth. Sometimes it isn't their words alone that harm us. It's what we say to ourselves afterward. The way we talk to ourselves in the aftermath of toxic encounters can either protect us like armor or expose us like an open wound. Picture your mind as a garden. Every thought is a seed. When you plant seeds of strength, hope, and resilience, your garden flourishes. Flowers of courage bloom. Trees of confidence take root. But if you allow seeds of doubt and fear to scatter across the soil, weeds of insecurity will quickly spread, choking out the good. That's the danger of negative self-talk. Toxic voices from the outside only become powerful if they echo within us. Of course, walking away isn't always an option. You can't avoid every difficult person, and that's where Stoic wisdom shines its brightest. The Stoics remind us, it's not what happens to us that matters most, it's how we respond. The true strength of your character is revealed not in what others do, but in the story you choose to tell yourself afterward. So, when negativity presses in, monitor your inner dialogue. Pay attention to those quiet conversations in your mind. Instead of asking, why do I have to deal with this? Why me? Shift the question. Ask instead, how can I grow stronger from this? What can this moment teach me? What resilience can I cultivate here? That shift isn't just semantics, it's power. By changing the question, you reclaim control. You refuse to let the toxic voices define your worth, and instead, you transform the experience into growth. Another tool the Stoics give us is detachment. Not detachment in the sense of coldness or indifference, but detachment as a wise choice of where you place your energy. Picture this. Someone fires an arrow of criticism or insult at you. If your sense of self-worth is weak, that arrow pierces deep. But if your worth is like a strong shield, if you've built an unshakable belief in who you are, those arrows cannot wound you. They may strike, they may bounce off, and yes, you may feel the sting of impact, but they do not define you. They do not stick. Detachment is the act of saying, this arrow is not mine to carry. It's the realization that while you cannot always control the shooter, you can always control whether the arrow finds its mark. So take a moment to reflect. How often do you let external negativity seep into your self-talk? How many times have you allowed the careless words of others to shape the way you see yourself? Remember, controlling negative self-talk doesn't mean locking your heart away in a fortress. It doesn't mean pretending you don't feel pain. It means knowing your worth so clearly that you can feel the sting without letting it scar. It means remembering that your reaction is your true power. And sometimes the strongest reaction of all is simply choosing not to give someone else the authority to define your story. We just reflected on the power of mastering our self-talk, guarding our minds like a garden, keeping out the weeds of negativity, and remembering that our reaction is always our true strength. Now let's move into the next principle, adopting a solution-oriented approach. Because while we cannot control others, we can always shape the way we navigate through the fog they create. 9. A solution-oriented approach. Do you ever ask yourself, how do I really deal with toxic people? We all cross paths with them eventually, at work, online, sometimes even at home. And often it feels like wandering through a thick fog. Every step is uncertain, the air feels heavy, and clarity seems just out of reach. The key, however, lies in shifting your mindset. Instead of getting trapped in frustration or endlessly replaying the negativity, choose to be solution-oriented. Root this approach deeply in Stoic principles, and suddenly toxic encounters no longer derail you. They become opportunities, moments to grow in emotional intelligence, resilience, and wisdom. Think of it like flipping a script. Instead of letting their chaos write the story, you take the pen back into your hands. Of course, this requires creativity. It's not about reacting in the heat of the moment. It's about thinking strategically, like a game of chess. You consider the moves ahead. You anticipate reactions. But you refuse to let yourself get emotionally entangled in the game. This means listening more than you speak. It means keeping your calm even when provoked. And while calmness might sound simple, in reality it's a rare skill, admired by many, mastered by few. When you carry yourself with composure, you rob toxic people of their power. They feed off reaction. Your stillness starves their control. Adaptability is another part of this solution-oriented mindset. Life will always throw different personalities and challenges at you. Some encounters will test your patience, others your compassion, and still others your boundaries. Adaptability is what allows you to stay true to your values while still navigating the rough waters with wisdom. Picture yourself as a tree, deeply rooted in the earth. The winds may howl, storms may rage, yet you remain grounded. You sway, yes, you bend with the gusts, but you do not break. Toxicity, like the storm, passes, but the tree remains. And with each storm weathered, its roots grow deeper, its trunk grows stronger. So pause for a moment and reflect. When you face negativity or manipulation, how do you respond? Do you let the fog consume you? Do you swing blindly at every shadow? Or do you choose to step back, to think, to craft a response that preserves your peace? The truth is, you may not be able to prevent toxic people from appearing in your life. But with a solution-oriented mindset, you can decide how their presence will shape you. And in doing so, you're not simply avoiding negativity, you're actively building a life of peace, dignity, and inner resilience. Because in the end, it's not the obstacles we face that define us, it's the way we rise above them, the way we transform trials into triumphs, and the way we stay true to ourselves despite the storm. 10. Avoiding unnecessary arguments. Now, let's turn to another crucial skill, knowing which battles are worth fighting. You've probably heard the phrase, choose your battles wisely. It's advice as old as time, yet never more relevant than today, where every interaction, especially online, can feel like walking through a minefield. When dealing with toxic people, it's like being lost in a dark maze. You don't know where the next wall is, and you don't know how many dead ends you'll hit. The temptation is to charge forward, to confront every obstacle head-on. But the Stoics would tell us, wisdom lies not in fighting every battle, but in discerning which paths are truly worth taking. Some conflicts are nothing more than dead ends. They drain your energy, exhaust your patience, and lead nowhere of value. Recognizing these moments can save you countless headaches. And here's the surprising truth. Sometimes the most powerful response isn't a response at all. Silence can speak louder than any word you could throw into the fire. Remember, toxic people often crave reaction. Their negativity is bait, and when you bite, they win. By refusing to engage, by choosing silence over argument, you strip them of their control. You take the wind out of their sails. This doesn't mean you ignore problems or pretend they don't exist. It means you refuse to let those problems dictate your energy. Your peace is not a currency to be spent on every conflict. It's too valuable for that. And beware, one of the biggest traps is thinking you can argue or reason someone out of their toxic behavior. That's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Instead of calming the flames, you only fuel them. So the next time you're tempted to react, pause. Ask yourself, does this battle honor my values? Does it serve my growth? Or is it just another dead end that drains my energy? If it's the latter, walk away. Protect your peace. Because in the bigger picture of life, some battles are simply not worth your heartbeats. In the last section, we explored the wisdom of choosing your battles, recognizing that silence can sometimes be the strongest response, and that not every conflict deserves your precious energy. Now let's carry that lesson forward into another subtle but powerful Stoic skill, detecting false cordiality. Because sometimes, the most dangerous negativity doesn't come from open conflict, it comes disguised as friendship. 11. Detection of false cordiality. Isn't it startling how quickly a small disagreement can erupt into a full-blown argument? One careless spark and suddenly the fire spreads, consuming peace and leaving only ashes behind. But here's the thing. Not every spark has to ignite. Not every flame has to grow. When you're dealing with toxic people, one of the most deceptive traps is false cordiality. This is when someone smiles at you, pretends to be on your side, but underneath that smile they're quietly stacking the wood, preparing fuel for the fire. And if you're not careful, you mistake their words for warmth, when in reality they're laying the groundwork for chaos. Body language rarely lies. Pay attention to the subtle cues. A grin that never reaches the eyes, arms folded tightly across the chest, as if guarding something unsaid, or the kind of smile that seems practiced, polished, but strangely hollow. These are whispers of insincerity, clues that the surface doesn't match the truth beneath. And it's not just the body. Listen closely to the tone. A voice dripping with sweetness but missing real warmth. An awkward laugh that doesn't fit the rhythm of the moment. A compliment that sounds right but somehow feels wrong. Often, what's unsaid tells more than the words themselves. These nuances are like invisible threads tugging at your intuition. If you feel a quiet sense that something is off, don't dismiss it. That inner tug is your wisdom speaking. Because sometimes the biggest danger isn't open hostility, it's hidden agendas masked as kindness. Think about the patterns you've noticed in people's behavior. Over time, consistent actions reveal true character. Like the steady beat of a drum, reliable and unchanging, authenticity doesn't waver. But behavior that shifts wildly, kind in private, cold in public, supportive one day, dismissive the next, is as flimsy as a leaf in the wind. That's not friendship. That's performance. And here's why it matters. Being able to sift through these facades isn't about paranoia. It's about protection. By recognizing false cordiality, you don't just guard yourself against manipulation. You also create space for genuine relationships to flourish. Because when you refuse to entertain pretense, you make room for authenticity. When you stop shaking every hand extended toward you, you begin discerning which ones are truly worth holding. And in doing so, you set the standard. You become a beacon of honesty, a steady light in a sea of masks, guiding others toward what is real. So, the next time you sense something off, a smile that feels forced, a tone that rings false, a gesture that doesn't match the words, pause. Trust your gut. Remember that not every open hand is offered in goodwill. Not every smile hides good intentions. Stand firm. Protect your peace like the fortress it is. Because in the end, the path ahead is yours to walk, and no amount of false cordiality should be allowed to drag you from it. Exploring Stoicism doesn't just give us tools to handle toxic individuals. It offers us a roadmap to live more fully, more wisely, more peacefully. It teaches us to master our reactions, protect our boundaries, nurture authenticity, and above all, to choose peace over chaos. And this journey doesn't end here. There's a deeper world of Stoic wisdom waiting for you, principles and practices that can transform how you live and how you lead. By joining our free newsletter, you can take the next step. You'll connect with a community of fellow Stoics, discover timeless insights, and strengthen your ability to face life with calm resilience. Don't miss the opportunity. Check the link in the description and claim your place among those who seek wisdom over noise, strength over reaction, and peace over chaos.